When I was a kid, my twin brother and I found something that loved to kill. I did everything I could to make it go the fuck away.
My first questions for you are kind of a two-parter. I'll break it up, though. I was wondering, when you first took these roles, what single part of making the monkey were you most looking forward to getting to do?
Personally, what really drew me into the script was the fact that I got to play two characters. That right there sets apart any role I've ever done, because now I'm playing two roles in one storyline, which can have a lot of complexities and differences than what I'm used to. So I'm very grateful that I got to be part of this journey. And collaborating with Oz and Theo James, we got to create nuance and traits that we infused into these characters to create what we see on screen today. And I'm eternally grateful that I got to be a part of this project.
I love hearing that. I'm going to break down that process in detail in a moment. But the flip side of that question is, so you were really excited to get to do this movie and play two characters in one film. But was there anything about making the monkey that wound up being like cooler or more like creatively fulfilling for you than you ever could have imagined at the start?
Aside from getting to play two characters, what definitely wound up being a cooler part of the movie is absolutely the tone and style that Oz brought into this movie. I mean, it's set in the 80s, first of all, which was awesome. I got to, research more. I found out that a lot of people wore really baggy jeans, and I love that. So it was a great trip into the past for me, and I think that was definitely a really cool part of making this movie, aside from being twins, So I'm very grateful, very grateful.
All right, I'll take that pairing right now. Back to the playing twins element of it, because it's a lot of challenges that you gotta manage when you're doing something like that. First, just in terms of your performance, were there any specific things you wanted to do while you were playing Bill, and any specific things you wanted to do while playing Hal to make sure the audience always knew they were two different people?
Aside from wardrobe and hair, which, by the way, the team killed it, really made these characters come alive. It was definitely black and white, heads and tails, like, east and west with Hal and Bill. Hal is this shy, timid, bullied kid, and Bill is this cocky, overconfident, overreaching, he's trying to compensate. He's always out there. So they're totally opposite characters. Getting to the headspace for both those characters was definitely a great part of the acting craft for me. I'm very grateful that I got to be able to do that. And yeah, with the crew, the wardrobe, the hair, setting, mood alike, it definitely made these characters come alive.
Okay, so that's you getting into the zone, playing them, and the support you have from the crafts team. Now what about, I guess, mainly just like blocking and the ultimate VFX you're going to need to make all of that work? Is there anything about what it takes to film a scene where there's two of you that I guess really surprised you?
Yeah, so when I was there, I had a wonderful body double, Kai, who would also, learn my lines, and we would rehearse with each other. And we were also collaborating, like, when do we move the hand? When do we pick up the object? So there was a lot of key timings and details, like you said, within the blocking, that really made this a difficult challenge to overcome. But eventually we got into this flow where it was just going and going, and playing two characters was second nature to us. And I'm very grateful that I had someone to react and play off of that really helped me. And absolutely, the blocking was definitely a big challenge, but after we were just smooth sailing the whole rest of the shoot.
From my perspective, it looked like smooth sailing every single step of the way. What advice would you give to another actor out there who is about to play twins for the first time and they're nervous about it?
Remember this. So for me, I got to play polar opposites, but for someone else, they may be very similar or different in very little ways. But what it comes down to really is how you can sympathize with these characters differently and find what makes them different. Unless they're completely identical, then there you go. Then you have an easy job to do and you go kill it. But definitely spend the time thinking about these characters, what can separate them, and what nuance and traits that you want to differentiate them with.
Very good advice right there. So I obviously have to carve out a little time to talk about working with Tatiana, who I think the world of her. And I always just love highlighting the value of a good scene partner. So can you give me an example of a time when she was kind of just the scene partner you needed? Maybe you were having a tough time cracking the scene and she gave you something and it helped you find where you needed to go.
Well, first of all, Tatiana, she is outstanding. She's such a kind soul. She's amazing. She is the epitome of talented. And referring back to the last question, playing twins, she is the absolute epitome of that. I mean, with Orphan Black, she got to play over, like, I think it was 12 different characters, even 17, I think, something like that. So, having her there was great. She was my scene partner. She was my rock. And it was great to be able to collaborate with her and get her opinion on things. And one scene that she really I think that she held me up on was the dancing scene, because we just had to let go and like really feel it. And she's like, yeah, just do this and like let's get into it. And like after a while we were just sending it. We were like in the zone. We were just dancing our hearts out. I think Tatiana, she's so supportive. She's definitely a positive role model for any actor out there. You got to look up to her. She is one of a kind. She's amazing.
Seeing that dance scene made me so happy, because one of the most iconic TV scenes of all time is a scene from Orphan Black where it's something like 3 or 4 of her characters all dancing together. And it's so incredibly well done.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched it, but I definitely should. Tatiana, if you're watching this, you're amazing.
She's the best. So I wanted to end on this particular question because like I'm someone who watches horror movies, and even though all this like twisted stuff happens in them, like they just make me happy. And I also find that people who make horror movies are some of the most like joyful, loving people out there. So can you tell me the single day of making the monkey that made you the happiest, even though it's this dark, twisted, bloody material?
What made me the happiest is a good example is when we were filming the babysitter Annie scene, and when her head just gets chopped off and rolls onto the grill. On surface level, that doesn't make me happy. That it's a pretty brutal death. But seeing that people can find joy and happiness and laughter, humor within the darkest of times and the darkest of events is that just made me happy. Like because the way that Oz crafted this project is involving humor with horror, and I think he absolutely killed it. And I think the audience can get a universal message of no matter what situation you're in, try and find joy and happiness within it, and humor. So.
Seriously, just like one of the best times I've had in the theater in recent months. I cannot congratulate you enough. You should be so proud of your work in this film.
Yeah, appreciate it so much.